Yo, Erica.
Hello, hello.
Stop. Hold on, stop.
Yo, what's good, everybody? And welcome to a new episode of PV Roundtable Talk. We're going to have a good discussion today. Today's topic is mental health. But before we get started, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm going to start first. It's your boy, Andre Williams, but you can call me Dre.
It's your girl, Erica Noel. How are you guys doing?
And I'm Peyton Alana.
All right. So how y'all feeling today?
We're feeling good. Today's a good day, y'all. It was the honor ceremony for the Dean's
shout
List.
out to everybody, your boy, Dean's List, honors,
Yes.
doing big
I
things.
think everybody at this table made it, so we brains here.
Actually, shout out to everybody, though. No, there was a lot of people.
It's okay.
There was a lot of people at the ceremony, though. There was a good amount.
I'm glad to see you.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But I do feel refreshed. I feel good. We're back from spring break, so
Yes.
let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I know.
So like I said, we're talking about mental health. So anything y'all want to do about mental health, y'all want to talk about real quick before we get started?
So what is mental health to you? I guess everybody has their different perceptions and definitions, but what does mental health mean to you?
Oof. I think it's very complex. Like, everybody's definition of mental health isn't monolithic. It's like, for me, it's just like how your mental state is affecting you in your everyday life. It could be on the bare minimum thing, like, are you motivated to get up to do something? And then it could go to the extremes. We're gonna get to that later, but I'm not the expert. What about you? What you think about it?
Similar to what you said, it's basically a spectrum on how you feel mentally, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and how it affects your day-to-day and how you thrive throughout the day. So basically, similar to what you said.
I can definitely agree. I think mental health is a very important subject to talk about because not a lot of people know how to handle mental health and doesn't even know exactly what it's about. So I think that this topic definitely needs to be discussed, and I'm glad that we're the ones here to give them what it is.
I do feel like it's heavily saturated. I feel like nowadays we always, mental health this, mental health that, depression and all that. Even though it needs to be talked about, I feel like we can figure out a way to, talk about it differently and make people really just tune in. But on that note, we'll be right back on our commercial break. So make sure you come back and tune in to Red Table Talk, Round Table Talk.
Bow.
I said red.
Oops. everybody, and welcome back to the show. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to introduce our guest. Today we have the astonishing and very important to our campus, Miss Micah Moore. Welcome her. Thank you for coming to us.
Thank you.
How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm good. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Yes, no, thanks for coming along. We really love it.
Thank
Have you here.
All right, so what I want you to do is do us a favor and tell us what you do. What do you do around the campus? What's your specialties? How you help us?
Okay. So I work in Owens Franklin Health Center, which is student counseling services in the same building with health services. So you can come in and get your physical needs taken care of as well as your mental health needs. So what we do is we work with students that may be struggling with their mental health. So it may be depression, anxiety, stress, even time management. And so we work with students individually and give them some counseling, coping skills. We do workshops on campus. We do groups. We even do couples counseling. And then we go all around campus and do presentations, kind of discussing what it is that we do, the services we offer, and really the importance of us taking care of our mental health.
Okay. So how do they reach out to y'all or go to the office to get those services?
Yes, so you all can call if you feel that you need any kind of services. Everything is completely confidential, so let me say that. Nothing leaves our office, and then you can call the office. We're at 936-261-3564, or you can come over to Owens Franklin Health Center.
All right, so if y'all didn't catch that, go run and do the playback and get that down because free services.
Right.
Free.
Come on, y'all.
Yes.
I heard that because I was just about to ask you, are y'all going to charge my student account?
No, we're not. No, because your activity fees pay for it, so it's free.
Y'all hear that?
It's free.
We pay for it, y'all.
Yes.
We pay for it,
We
so let's
pay
utilize
for it.
these services and get our mental health in check, y'all.
Absolutely.
It's really important.
All right, okay. So today's discussion, like we said earlier, mental health. So since you are obviously the professional here, what does mental health mean to you?
Okay, so I watched you all and I heard your conversation and you all said some great things and really hit the nail on the head. So basically mental health is how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And so really it's a state of well-being, right? So a state of well-being when an individual is able to cope with normal life stressors, right? We all have normal life stressors, but being able to really cope and deal with those stresses. Being able to kind of realize your potential, your abilities, also being able to contribute to your community, society, and to really be productive and fruitful in your work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I love that. That's such a great
So I'm
definition.
going to start off with the first question. Now, I know you said everything is confidential and everything like that, but what are the, I guess, most common cases that you get from college students here at PV?
Absolutely. So depression and anxiety. And so those are the top common kind of mental health challenges or disorders in general. But here, really, depression, anxiety, and really just the adjustment of it all. Like, it's a big adjustment, for you all coming to college, being away from home, getting acclimated, and just the stressors that come along with that.
So students are coming to you more off of trying to juggle the school life, or are they coming to you based on like what are triggering those mental health, like anxiety and emotions? Are their relationships? Is it the transition coming from their hometown to college? Is it sports and the the pressure of it all? What do you see like most likely? Is it
all of that. So the adjustment with school, a lot of times, just kind of dealing with the stress of back home, right? Just kind of family issues.
Right.
That's really, really, right. That's big. Kind of money, financial, right? That's very stressful. Just socializing on campus, maybe feel like, I haven't really met anybody. I'm not really involved, right? Creating friendships. And just kind of everything that kind of goes on, just regular
being a college student.
Yes, exactly, right.
No, I can relate to that though, because when I came, even though I roommate with my homeboy that I've known since middle school, but for the most part, and especially coming in band, I didn't know anybody coming in here, so the adjustment to do that could be very depressing. And then COVID hit, and it was another thing, and it was just like you stuck to yourself, and then you have your own thoughts, and it got to a point where I was like, man, I guess I really didn't realize it until somebody said I realized I was low key depressed, lack of motivation to want to do anything. everything. And then now it's just like I'm at the point where when it's really getting exciting, it's like I'm about to graduate. I'm gonna graduate in May.
Right.
And then adulting starts to hit you, and it's like it's a little scary, and I'm not even gonna lie, it's causing a little anxiety.
Yeah.
And you know, low key, I might have to come talk to you, cause I don't know, I feel it. What about y'all? Y'all
I can
relate?
definitely agree. I think that, you know, having anxiety and depression can kind of, you know, come on as you're entering something new. And, you know, with new challenges, it comes new emotions. And I feel like it's definitely a kind of like a self-reflection of how, like, you know, you came from this transition of your life into a whole new area and environment. And I feel like sometimes that can be so overwhelming that you don't know how to produce those certain feelings and just kind of talk to them and kind of like handle them. And I feel like sometimes suppressing it, because that's what depression is. It's suppressed anger. And I feel like, you know, when you have something built up inside of you, it's kind of hard to go ahead and regulate that emotion and then go ahead and to like actually just exhale and just, you know what, I need to take this situation for what it is, and honestly just feel like, you know what, I need to take a step back, or I need to go ahead and talk to somebody professional to understand what I'm going through so I know exactly what it is. Absolutely. And I feel like students, like at PV, they definitely experience that, but they don't have any outlet or don't even know where to go, you know, besides local friends or family. And, you know, when you're apart from your family like I am, you know, my family's in Los Angeles, so I feel like, you know, we're so far, we're on different time zones, and it can definitely be a kind of like a hard transition. Like, you know, hey, like I need help, but I know you can't be here physically, so I need to come talk to somebody that can actually relate to me and like help me out. So I can definitely feel that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and those coping skills, right? Because sometimes we don't have those coping skills. Because that's the thing, feelings are meant to be felt.
Right.
People don't want to feel pain, right? They don't want to, you know, feel those emotions of sadness and anger.
Right.
But they're normal emotions. But how do we deal with those emotions that we're feeling, right? And how do we cope with them? And what do those skills look like?
Right.
And then also, I guess my problem personally is recognizing which emotion, I guess, matches with which. Because sometimes I might get, or people might get anxiety mixed with depression. I really hate to use the depression word because it's so deep and so, has a lot of turmoil. So a lot of people may be using, you know, I have a lot of anxiety, but really they're depressed, or vice versa. So I think really maybe you can help us with that, just knowing the difference between the two.
And I would also like to say, like, one of the things, I don't know if we kind of like talked about it, but it's all like, I feel like also us as Black people, like in our community, we really don't talk about mental health, and we don't even recognize that we're going through certain things, because when we do, a lot of times we either told, well, you know, you just gotta, well, like, I mean, sorry, Mom, hate to call you out, but she'd be all like, just shake yourself off, pick yourself up and keep on going. But that's not really a proper coping mechanism, because again, like you said, suppress anger, and then it starts to fester and build up, and then eventually you can't snap. Or they'll say something like, well, you know, just pray on it. But sometimes like it's like
it takes a little
you
bit
need
more
to talk to somebody to figure it out. But then like at the same time, like I said, we don't necessarily recognize that we're going through some, versus I would say other coaches where it's a part of them to be open to talk about it and stuff like that. They actually want you to talk about it, and it's not seen as something bad. And then also with us, I feel like it's demonized to talk about mental health, because we're seen as Black people, we're supposed to always be strong all the time. You can't show weakness, or they think that because we have something going on, it's seen as a weakness.
Right.
What y'all think about that?
I definitely agree. I think that we can talk more almost right after this commercial. You guys stay tuned, and we'll continue this discussion right after this commercial. Thank you, guys. so much for tuning back in with us. We are so glad to hop back into this discussion about mental health. And here we have Miss Moore to go ahead and kind of summarize what we kind of talked about in our opinions and see what she says about it, since she's our special guest here. Miss Moore?
Yeah, so definitely agree with everything you all said, especially the conversation on mental health and having that conversation. There's so much stigma and shame in our community that we need to begin to kind of break that silence and have that conversation, right? Because we were taught that, you know, what happens in this house stays in this house. You have to be strong, right? And we kind of put up these facades that we have to have it all together, but it's really okay not to be okay.
Right.
It really is.
Which is really important.
Yeah, it is.
And can you just kind of just talk on just kind of like what Peyton and I had related about, which is depression and anxiety, and knowing the differences, since we kind of get them mixed up. Because, you know, as students, we're like, oh my God, I'm so depressed. Like, oh my God, I just have high anxiety right now. And it's just like sometimes we don't know exactly what it is. And I feel like, you know, if you can kind of define that and kind of get into terms, then maybe we can have understanding, and our audience can have understanding too what that is as well.
Yeah, so I think the big thing for us as clinicians, we look at the duration of your symptoms or signs, the intensity, right? And is it really affecting like your daily functioning, right? So when we think about anxiety, a student may say like their hands get really sweaty, their heart is beating really, really fast, right? And so they have a lot of physiological symptoms. It could be maybe speaking in front of crowds or even being around a lot of people, right? Just kind of that anxious, nervousness type of feeling. And then, you know, with depression, like you talked about, lack of motivation, like really low mood. We think about decreased appetite, right? Maybe we're not sleeping really well. And we think about some of those things, but we think about it in a way of how long have they been lasting, right? So if it's been lasting for like 2 weeks or more, it's probably something that we kind of want to tackle. Right? Because we all have different emotions and feelings. They come and go, right? We have good days and bad days. But if it's something that's kind of intensified, right, and is lasting for quite a bit of time, it's something that you want to pay attention to. And that's why it's so important for us to be in tune with ourselves, right? Right? And,
Very
you
much
know,
so.
really be honest with ourselves about the way that we're feeling. And not try to suppress or push that stuff aside.
Right. I definitely agree with that.
But that's hard though, because like you have to really be honest with yourself.
You do.
And sometimes, like, even though it's weird, you be by yourself, you don't want to be honest with yourself because you just like you don't want to believe that you're actually could possibly be having like some sort of mental health issue or stuff like that. The self-reflection is hard.
Yes, and I think that's again with the stigma, because statistics say 1 in 5 adults have a mental illness or a mental challenge. Then, you know, also statistics say that like half. Right? And so this is something, I mean, it's very, very common, and it could happen from like trauma, right? It could be a death in the family. Like even when we think about like grief and different transitions, right? That can kind of bring that on.
Right.
So I think that's the thing when we think about it, sometimes it's like, oh no, like I don't want to be labeled as that, but we're not. Our disability, we're not our mental health condition. That's not who we are.
Right.
We're not defined by that.
So, Ms. Moore, I have a question. And right now, like, okay, we're living in times of COVID. I feel like a little bit of everyone is facing some type of mental health turmoil or just trying to come to a conclusion on what's going on.
Absolutely.
But do you feel that not depression or maybe that's my question, depression can somewhat be like not a choice, but like a choice, because I feel like sometimes in my generation or some of my peers, we're so quick to throw that word around when a slight inconvenience comes around, whether it's a breakup with a boyfriend or, you know, friends just not being friends or anything like that. Oh, I'm depressed or I'm sad. What is really the issue to determine what's depression? Because I feel like a lot of my peers, like I said, even myself, I'm like, oh, I'm so sad. Oh, I don't want to get out of bed. But really it's minuscule rather than when it's really affecting your health and, like you said, your day-to-day functioning and things like that. What's the time, I guess, what's the time capacity would you put on that? Would it be 1 week, 2 weeks, a month?
I would say really 2 weeks. Like if you've seen these signs and symptoms consistently and you've been feeling, you know, how we talked about like low mood, like lack of appetite, right, no motivation, you know, having these feelings for about 2 weeks, you know, that's something to be concerned about. Because the thing is we all handle situations differently. And so we don't want to diminish or devalue, right, anybody else's experience, because me and you can go through the same exact experience, but you're going to experience it different from the way that I do, right? And so maybe you're able to cope with it, you know, well, right? But I can't, you know. But so that's the thing. We all go through so many different things, and it's not to say, right, you know, you're experiencing it this way, so I'm struggling, so, you know, now that's an issue. So, I mean, you know, you don't want to just kind of devalue anybody's experiences and what they're going through.
I do have a question, though. Even though we're talking about, you know, our situations, personally, what we've gone through, seeing our friends, but I want to talk about how to get yourself out of that. I want to talk about the, you know, the transformation that you have to get yourself. And like Andre said about self-reflection, sometimes you don't want to look yourself into the mirror and be like, you know what, Erica, there's something wrong with you. Or you know what, you've been missing class for 2 weeks and nobody has said anything. You need to go ahead and seek help. What is going to put you from this mood? Because mind you, feelings come and go. As what I've been told. You know what I'm saying? What I've been taught. Feelings come and go. You may feel this way right now, but I guarantee you, in 30 minutes later, you're not going to feel the same way. And that's because of, you know, different things that you cope with. Like you said, music can be one. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes, you know, watching a movie, media, you know, anything that can kind of get your mind off of what you're feeling can kind of relate into how you're going to get out of that. And I feel like we can discuss that more and try to figure out an outlet to where people can, if you feel a high anxiety or if you feel, you know, depression, what can you do or what outlet can you tap into to make sure that you don't feel this way, you know, later on after 2 weeks span, or, you know what I'm saying, if you see your fellow friends or any peers that you know going through this, how can you help them? So I feel like, you know, if we can kind of get that sort of direction from you and kind of learn that from you and tips and tricks that you use, we can definitely go ahead and talk about that. But that is going to be right after this commercial. We are so excited. You guys stay tuned, and we're going to talk about how to get yourself out of anxiety and depression with mental health. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, welcome back to PV Roundtable Talk. So let's go ahead and continue discussion that we were starting real quick. Let's go ahead and continue. You actually was asking the question.
Yes.
But we would like you to answer that real quick if you can for us.
Yes. So, of course, you know, seek help.
Right.
if you need to seek help, right? When we think about self-care is very important, and that's individualized, right? Self-care is going to look very different amongst all of us. And so you want to make sure, you know, you're eating good, you're exercising, you know, you're socializing, you have hobbies, you know, you're staying involved, do some deep breathing, yoga, meditation, listening to music, right? Different things to kind of help, you know, keep you focused, boost your mood, to keep you motivated and just really in a good headspace. But that's gonna look really different amongst everyone as far as how you take care of yourself, because you all know what you need, right? Better than anybody else.
Right, correct.
I like the music one, but that's also a double-edged sword, because, you know, sometimes music could boost you up,
Or
and
it can
sometimes it
bring
could
you
bring you down.
down.
Are there any songs y'all like to listen to that, you know, just boost you up, boost your positivity, your attitude? What about y'all?
I have one. I listened to Janae Aiko. It's called Ways, and her main thing that she kept saying is, like, you have to keep going. Like, no matter what you're going through, you know, you have to keep pushing, you have to keep going because you're working hard for something. So I kind of listen to that, you know, within my daily little playlist, you know, just to keep me motivated. Like, you know, she's just kind of like my inner person. Shout out to Janae.
I feel that.
I got two. I got a gospel song, and then I have a regular song. My gospel song is called Cycles by Jonathan McReynolds. It's basically going through the same thing over and over again, different stages, but you're going to get through it because, you know, God will never leave you or forsake you.
Right.
So that's one. And then the other one is Be Alright by Kalani.
Hey,
I love Kalani, and it's like, you're gonna be all right.
Right.
You know?
You're gonna be okay.
At the end of the day, you living, you breathing, you're feeling. You can feel every emotion that you're having, whether it's bad, whether it's good, as long as you can feel. So you're gonna be all right. So I like that song.
What about you, boss?
A lot of gospel music, right?
Right.
Tasha Cobbs.
Yeah.
I'm thinking right now, William Murphy, Settle Here. Yes, and a lot of affirmations, right? Just kind of
Yes.
speaking that positivity over yourself. I have a track that I listen to. Can't think of the artist right now, but she literally like raps affirmations and sings them. It's like really dope and powerful. Yeah.
I like that.
Feel that. I'm a little random. I'm not even gonna lie to
I
you.
would say
I like Get Money by Biggie a little too.
Okay,
I don't know. It just makes me just want to, you know, do some. Look, it has nothing to do with mental health, but it makes me want to shake myself off
Right.
and do some things
You
and
know,
get some
just
money.
get back on your feet.
Yeah.
Despite life.
Right.
You just feel like I want to do something
Right.
positive.
I can definitely agree to that. So I think
Yes,
that
yes.
songs, and I feel like music just, you know, has two ways of influence. You know, you have music that can, you know, put you in that little mellow mode, but you have a lot of music that out there that's in really just boost your confidence and make you feel like, you know, I can do this. I can stand up. I can overcome from what I'm going through, my situation, my mental health state. So I definitely feel like, you know, tapping into, you know, whatever religion that you are, and you know what I'm saying, where I'm Christian, so I'm going to tap into my gospel music. You know, it puts me into a whole different, you know, in different spirit and just a different mode. So it just it uplifts me for sure. So
It's
I can
the
definitely
energy.
agree. Yeah, it's energy for sure.
Definitely the spirituality piece. And you know, we can have God and a counselor too.
Right. You can have both.
Look.
Yes, you can have both.
You gotta listen to both now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tap into.
But why do you think that our community strays away from counselors and seeking help? You know, I feel like it's bigger than the, mind your business, what goes on in this house stays in this house. But, like, what's the real reason why you feel like, you know, our people don't seek help? Because I know me personally, I don't want people to think I'm crazy, or I don't want to feel judged or things like that, or, you know, so I think that's my main focus on why I don't go seek maybe help or go talk to someone, because it's more of the mindset, you know, I do have God, I can pray, you know, I am hard on myself. So it's just like, you know, a lot of people go through these things,
Right.
you know, but what do you think is the really the imprint on our people on why we don't go seek mental health or go see someone like other cultures?
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, what you said, what we've all said, right? There's so much stigma and shame just culturally that has been passed down. And,
For
you know, it's
generations.
learned behavior, what we've been taught.
Right.
And, you know, just as a society that, you know, we have to keep it together. We have to be strong. We have to be that strong black woman, that strong black man, right? And there's a lot of vulnerability to be able to, you know, show that, right? Because, you know, it's looked at as a sign of weakness.
Right.
When, you know, it's not at all.
Right. I feel that.
I feel like, you know, sometimes just speaking on, like, you know, generational, just kind of like, I wouldn't say call them curses, but just, you know, passed down same type of mindset and trauma and just methods of handling, you know, how you're feeling. I feel like sometimes it's that swept underneath the rug type of concept. You can only sweep so much underneath the rug until you're gonna trip over it.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, you know, sometimes as our society, we tend to trip over it and then never kind of acknowledge it until it just kind of burst out. You know, it's all over the floor now. So it's like, you know, you have to acknowledge it. So definitely kind of breaking those generational curses and just, you know, actually going and seeking help honestly, you can be the starter. And just lead, you know, be the leader, you know, of your entire kind of like family and, you know, just generation, and just honestly feel like, you know what, maybe it's time that we stop doing this stuff and actually just go ahead and seek help. So
Yeah, definitely.
I like that.
Ms. Moore, so what do you think, or how do you feel about social media nowadays? How do you feel like it affects, you know, our mental health?
A lot.
Adults' mental health?
A lot.
You know, just so.
Yeah, so I'm an 80s baby, and we didn't have social media like that, right? Like, there was really no Instagram. Facebook was only if you were in college. So we didn't really have that outside pressure.
Right.
Wait, Facebook was only for when you was in college?
Yeah, you could only be a college student with a college
Shoot,
email.
I was in elementary school.
I
promise
on
you.
MySpace.
I never had that.
you was on kick.
You know, and so, you know, we see what people want to show us, right? And so we're like, you know, people see like, okay, they have this, they have that, I want to look like this, I want to have that, but we don't really see, you know, what's really going on, right? And so we begin to kind of idolize some of these people, and we want our lives to be that way, and it's all, you know, the comparison, the stress to kind of keep up, and so, you know, it's just so different now because I didn't have to deal with that. But it plays such a big part, you know, when it comes to our mental health, even when you think about like suicidal ideation and just the stress and the pressure to kind of keep up with the Joneses, if you will.
Right.
No, I feel that, because even when I said earlier how like the thought of graduating and like having to be an adult like kind of scares me, it's partially because it's like, I know you're not supposed to have it all once you graduate, but I'm sorry, I like to live a certain lifestyle, and it's really gonna hurt my feelings if I don't get that when I leave. But I know realistically, it's not gonna happen. But I put so much pressure on myself where really I'm to the point where I want to get stuff situated now. But I know social media.
But I feel like, you know, even though social media does play a huge part into our generation, for sure, because that's what we go to, you know what I'm saying? We can get jobs off of just being on social media. So it takes a huge toll on how we deal with things. And like you said, keeping up with the Joneses. You see, social media is always put on the forefront of what they have, but you don't understand what it took, you know, in order for them to get that. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, in order for us to live a certain life, everybody goes through the motions. You know what I'm saying? It's not always pre-planned out. Nothing is really pre-planned out. You know, life is at random. You just got to roll with the punches at this point. But I feel like, you know, sometimes we can, you know, just take it day by day with social media. You can always take a break. You can always delete it. But I feel like, you know, it's important. And I feel like, you know, just using time wisely.
Yeah, and you have to live your life for you and not for somebody else's approval. That's the other thing, right? Looking for people's other approval and recognition on the outside versus that should be internally.
Because people show their best on social media.
Absolutely, yes.
I will say that real quick. I do feel like there was a certain time, I don't know if y'all remember my middle school days, but the Tumblr days, if there was a certain section that like popularized mental health and depression, it was like, it was cool. It was seen to be cool. Like there was a sector where it was like, it was cool to be depressed, and it was cool to be sad, and it was cool to be just down and stuff like that. And I don't think a lot of people really realize how much that affected us until recently. Because I'll be looking back, I was like, y'all was really like on that for real. And then if you look at stuff like TikToks, I see threads that's basically mirroring the same stuff that was happening. And it's just like now with social media, it's easier because we have all these trends that's going. But everything circulates. It may be gone one time, but it's gonna come back. So how do you think there's a way that we could, real quick, that we could combat that?
So the thing is you have to filter like what you take in. So you have to think about the power of what you take in, right? So we all have thousands of thoughts that come into our minds, but you do have the power to, you know, choose what you allow to stay, right? And so, you know, filter your intake, right? Cut back a little bit, right? And I mean, if you need to stop following certain people or certain things, you know, you have to do what you have to do to protect your space and your energy.
Oh, I feel that.
Very much well said, honestly. honestly. Well said.
100%.
We thank you so much for being on the show with us and just having you
Thank
here and
y'all.
just spilling your knowledge into us and to our audience who's watching. I hope that you guys took something from this show and what today's topic and just really just focus on how important mental health is and check up on your family and your peers, honestly.
Absolutely.
We thank you guys for tuning in. You will catch us next Wednesday at 6:30, same time, same place, y'all.
Boom.
Thank you.